Welcome to a short lecture on Ian Holm Cuthbert. He is an actor who unfortunately passed away a few days ago. Famous for being Bilbo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings and in The Hobbit, but he acted in many parts over his life. I think he passed away, he was 88. I've not done an analysis of his birth and death in this particular case, but I'm going to show you some interesting things of what he did as an actor. So, again, I do recommend you look at the first few lectures in my lecture series to get the idea of the different systems that I use of Gematria. I'll try and explain some of it here. We're going to look at, first of all, that he was an actor. So the idea is that we show a numerical equivalent between his name and the part that he might play in a film or the job that he has. But I do this with many other different people, whether they're authors or musicians or scientists, etc. And I can show mathematical connections between the person's name and what their profession is, what they discover, what book they write, things like that. Okay, so here we have Ian Holm Cuthbert, his name. He usually goes as Ian Holm. And we're going to look at the word actor. And the word actor, we're going to look at the normal inner value. Now the normal inner value, for those who don't know, I'll just explain it to you. The placement value is A is 1, C is 3, T is 20, because these are the placement values. T is the 20th letter, O is the 15th, R is the 18th. So we get the placement value. To get another system is where we take the decimal value, so A stays 1, C stays 3, but we go up when we get to J, it gets to 10. Instead of K being 11, K becomes 20, so you go to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then T will be actually 200, because we get to S is 100, and T will be 200, O is 60, and R is 90. Then that's what I call the normal value, that's what I call the placement value, and what I then do is I extend both of these by using the placement value on the actual numbers to extend it further. In fact, one can extend them a lot further. But what you do here is for the normal inner value, which we'll see in a minute, for this particular word, I take the word 1, and the word 1 equals 34, the word 3 is 56, the word 200 is 132, 60 is 97, and the word 90 is 87. And if I add that all together, I'll get 406, and I call that the normal inner value. This is the normal value. This is going a little bit deeper, so I call it the normal inner value. So that's 406. So I'm going to write that up there. 406 is the normal inner value. And now we're going to look at his name. Put this off. And then we're going to use 4 values for his name. We're going to look at Ian. And Ian has a placement value of 24, because I is 9, A is 1, and N is 14. It has a large value of 180. Now I haven't explained it for those who just come onto here. The large value is now that I is 9, the 9th letter for the placement value. I take the word 9, and the word 9 is 42. A is 1, 1 is 34, and N is 14, and the word 14 is 104. So it's similar to the normal inner value, but I'm using the placement values to work out. So then I got the normal values. N is 50, A is 1, I is 9, that's 60 should I say. Okay, that's the normal value. And then the normal inner value, I'm just going to write PV there. The normal inner value, where I is 42, A is 34, and N, because N is 50, in the normal value is 66. So that will give me a value of 142 for the normal inner value. And now I've used all 4 systems, and if I add that together, I'll get 406. And we can see that his whole being, basically, is involved in being an actor. It was his life. He was an actor. So I give this a particular code because I take the placement value and the large value, and I call that the whole value, which is W, and then I stick the N and the NI at the end, and I call it the WNNIV value. But don't worry about all that. That is the total of all the four values, and it equals the normal in-value vector. So he was an actor. So now we're going to see how he is connected to some of the parts, which now I'm not going to be able to go through all the films that he has done. But I started doing a few, and I got kind of hung up on The Lord of the Rings because I was one of my favourite books as a teenager. So we're going to start off with that because he was a Baggins. So we're going to look at his second name, Holm. And Holm has a large value of 300 LV, and it has a normal value of 138. That's the normal value. And then to add that, I get 438. And I call that the total value for historical reasons. Right? No, I don't call it the total value at all. I call it the LMV value, LMV. So, okay? The names aren't that important. And then I've got Baggins. He was a Baggins. And Baggins has a normal inner value of 438. That's its normal inner value. So he connects in with the Baggins. Not only does he connect in with the Baggins, he connects in with the Hobbit as well. So we're going to rub that off. This is why he was so suitable for this part. But to do that, we need Ian Holm. That's his two names. Ian Holm. And we have to do all four values. Placement value, 72. The large value is 480. The normal value is 198. The normal inner value is 472. And I add all that together and I get 1,222. Okay? Placement, large, normal inner value. And I do the same thing for a Hobbit. If I do that for a Hobbit, I'm also going to use all the same. I'll do it in red. A Hobbit. And I'm going to use also all the four values. A Hobbit is 57. The placement value, it has a large value of 413. It has a normal value of 282, and it has a normal inner value of 417. If I add that together, I get 1,222. So I'm adding the four systems for a Hobbit and the four systems for Ian Holm, and I get the same number, 1,222. He was also a ring bearer. That's what they called them. Frodo and Bilbo Baggins were both ring bearers, having carried the one ring that rules them all. So we have a ring bearer, and I'll have to do the actor for Golem. That will be interesting. So we have a ring bearer, and that has a placement value of 97 PV, which happens to be the same as Cuthbert, and that is also 97 in the placement value. So there we are. He was a ring bearer from his surname. Now what about the name Bilbo? Actually, I don't have a connection with him with the actual name Bilbo, but I have a Bilbo connected to a Hobbit. So I have Bilbo. Bilbo equals large value 310. I'm going to change my pen. I'm going to have to get a new set. 310. And that's the large value. And he's got a normal value of 103. That's the NV value. Together is 413. And if you remember rightly, I sneaked in 413 before for a Hobbit. So we had just before a Hobbit, one of the values, which was the large value, was 413, and that was the large value. Okay? So we have a connection to Bilbo and a Hobbit, and that's within the story of the book. Right? We're not talking about an actor. We're looking at within the actual book itself. And you go back to the book The Titan that I wrote, that I did a video on, which is almost a prophecy of the sinking of the Titanic. So I was showing much of that within the book itself. Okay, and that's I do that with the Bible as well. Does it prove that a book is holy, sanctity? I think it does. I think that because human beings have a consciousness which is connected to God, we have a subconscious which is definitely connected to God. We have a divine soul, and therefore we are instruments in creation. Just like God created through words, so our process of creation is also through words. We can heal, we can build up people, we can put people down, and we can destroy with words. The power of the tongue is very strong. So while we're on the Lord of the Rings, a few visitors of flies here, while we're on the subject of Lord of the Rings, let's just show how the author of the book is related to his book. So The Hobbit was the first of the series. This you'll see in my book, which I'm writing on authors. The Hobbit, we had a Hobbit before, because Bilbo was a Hobbit, but now the book was called The Hobbit, and it has a placement value of 89, and it has a large value of 577. Okay? And if I add those together, I'll get 666. What a beast he is, right? He even got fur on the sole of his feet. Okay? So, what about Tolkien? Well, he had 4 names, and if we take 2 of them, which was John, this is further, he was J.R.R. Tolkien, alright? John Reuel, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, John Reuel, alright? Reuel is an interesting word, because in Hebrew, Reuel, El is God, Reu is to see God, okay? 108 is the placement value, and he has a normal value of 558. That's his normal value for those 2 names. Add that together, get 666. So we see how his name is connected to the book that he wrote called The Hobbit, with an interesting magical number. What about the Lord of the Rings? Okay, so we'll rub that off. And he wrote The Lord of the Rings. So let's have a look. Oh, we're going to take the surname, Tolkien. Tolkien. Right, Tolkien has a placement value of 86 PV. He has 510, which is the large value. That's a 5. Okay. And a normal value of 374. And we add those together, and we'll get 970. Okay, 970. So then I will take the Lord of the Rings. I'm going to miss out the word the. So it seems to only work. I haven't tried it with any of that. Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has a large value of 970. So we have the connection using 3 values of Tolkien. He connects into Lord of the Rings at 970. Let's go back to now our Ian Holm, the actor, and we will see how he's connected to a part he plays in 2 other films. Okay, this one I've got here. There's plenty more there to try. I could spend all day trying to see how his name connects to the different parts. So he played the part called Ash as a science officer in the science fiction film called The Alien. And an interesting simple name. Ash has a large value of 169. That's its large value. And that's all I need for that, because if I take now his whole name, Ian Holm Cuthbert, and I work out the placement value, I'll get 169. That's his place at PV. Okay, so he fitted in well with that part. And then he also played I've got another two films I've got here. He received in 1967 the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor for his performance as Lenny in the film called The Homecoming. Lenny, I'm just quoting from the list of the cast. Lenny, a man in his early 30s, Max's son, apparently a pimp. So I couldn't find any connection with Lenny by itself, but I could find a connection with Pimp Lenny. That's who he was. He was the pimp for Lenny. So I've got Pimp Lenny, and that came out to be, using the normal values, 1024. And I take Ian Holm, Ian Holm, and I worked out the placement value, PV, and I worked out the large value, 480, and I worked out the normal inner value, 472, normal inner value. I've only missed out the normal value. There's three systems there. There's 1024. So we see that he connects with that part as the pimp Lenny. And the last play is a play called The Match in 1999. And he played there the part of Big Tam. He's a small guy, so I don't know how he can play a big part. So I didn't connect him to Big Tam, I connected him to Tam. Tam has a large value of 240. That's its LV, the large value. And Ian, we've had this before, but you probably didn't notice, 180 is his large value, and his normal value was 60, gives me 240. So then again, we've got a connection between Ian and his part Tam in the film The Match. And so it goes on, believe it or not. We are connected to the things that draw us along in life. We maybe have a plan set out before we're even born, major events in our life, major things that we have to accomplish. This all there within the name. And that's what's so amazing about the English language and other languages, because if you see carefully what I've written in some of my books, the person may be connected to a particular painting because of his name. His name may be Italian, it may be a Spanish name, and sometimes it's the name of the picture or the painting that is in his or her language. So it's not just the English language, it's Hebrew, Greek. All these languages have gematria systems within them and can be used to show very interesting connections. I haven't tried Russian. I don't know how I would ever try Chinese, but maybe one day I'll get around to having a look at some of the more complicated languages. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and come and join us for the main lectures that I've been giving. There's 39 now, so you can have a look at those from the beginning. Some of them are very quite amazing, I say. Let's look at the first ones and you'll see why I say that. Okay, be well.